Okay, let's talk about something that's happening in a lot of marriages, but no one wants to admit it. Y'all not having sex. That's what I'm talking about. You're not having sex. Like nothing, nada, zero, nothing again. Maybe it's been weeks, maybe months. It's been so long you don't even remember. You're wondering if your partner has decided to just become celibate without your knowledge. That's how much you all are not having sex. And so, yeah, yeah, that's a problem. I'm Angie D. Lee. I'm an intimacy coach, a therapist, and today we're going to be unpacking this conversation around sexless marriages, y'all. Like we're gonna talk about that today. Why it happens, why no one is talking about it, and how to start shifting like the silence into connection. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we got some work to do. So let's first talk about what's the definition of a sexless marriage in the first place. Okay, so for all you Chat GPT fans out there and just AI in general, and just Google, a lot of definitions that keep coming up for the most part when it comes to sexless marriages is if you are engaging in sex about 10 times a year or less. Okay. But honestly, you all, we know that it's not just about the number. It's not. It's about the fact that, there's a lack of desire, or maybe there is desire on your end, but maybe the your partner's end, maybe it's not, or vice versa. There's a lack of connection, and whether the lack of sex is even creating like just overall a disconnect and closeness. There are some couples who are okay, with limited sex, like in their relationship, or no sex. So we're not talking about you if you fall in that category. And then also, a lot of people are just really suffering in silence, like, and they feel very ashamed to talk about it, which is why I'm doing this video. And if you follow me and if you subscribe to my channel, you know that I've talked on this subject matter in a lot of different ways, a variety of ways. So clearly, it's something that's very important and that people do want to talk about, but they don't always know how to approach the subject. They don't know if it's going to cause an argument, or they know it's going to cause an argument, in their relationship. And so a lot of people just kind of like throw their hands up and try to accept that this is just their new normal. But you're silently, suffering inside. And some people don't even realize that it's actually been months or years, since you all have stopped having sex. Because when it comes to just even physical touch, sometimes you're wondering, like, wow, when is the last time we've actually hugged each other or even kissed each other, or like I rubbed her back or she's rubbed mine, and just all kinds of things. And this is not to make you all feel bad at all if this is your situation, not at all. This is about being aware, and just like getting to the point of like, let's change this. Let's do something about this, because it doesn't stop there. It doesn't mean that this is just how it has to be. But this is a spoiler alert. I will say this. It's usually not because the love is gone. A lot of times it could be a combination of things like just life and resentment, being built up, or your touch has turned into like a routine. So you're not really connecting with it. And again, all of these things that I just talked about, I have talked about in previous videos. So definitely take some time, make a cup of coffee or some tea or something, and pull right up to my channel and watch a lot of the previous videos too, because I definitely talk about resentment in relationships and routine, and just how things can kind of become mundane. So let's get right up into this thing and deal with it. So like, let's break down the real reason behind most sexless marriages. So get your phone, get your notepad, take these notes, because we changing this today, y'all. Changing it today. So it's not always about the lack of attraction. Okay. So a lot of times you can be still attracted to, your spouse. It just ain't happening. It is just something that's just not clicking. And for some reason, sex is just not occurring like it used to, or if it ever did at all, really in the way that you would have liked. It's not always about infidelity. Okay, so we're gonna scratch that. Not all the time. Sometimes, but not all the time. And it's definitely not because you're just not trying hard enough. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because sometimes we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves in terms of why things are not happening. But I just wanted to say those are not always the reasons why you're not having sex. But a lot of times the reason why sex is not occurring and usually kind of fall in one of these categories. You could just be exhausted from parenting, just raising kids. We love the kids. Angie love the kids, but kids are a lot. They take a lot out of you, and now that my kids are a lot older, one is an adult and one is getting to adulthood, mother is happy, okay? Because I don't have that level of exhaustion from parenting like I did when the kids were obviously a lot younger or at that age where you're chauffeuring them around every single place and then just life just stops because it's kind of revolving around your kids. So exhaustion from parenting is a big one. Career burnout, like, and you don't have to have one of those jobs that's like you're on the fast track to becoming, this or that, and you're moving on up. Sometimes it's just in order to make ends meet, in order to maintain and sustain, like a basic living, a lot of time, a lot of effort, just a lot of focus, just, and a lot of times too, it could be that employers are asking so much more, of their employees now because they're having to pick up the slack because, maybe there's a high turnover rate. People don't want to go to work, just all kinds of stuff, especially since the pandemic. The, career landscape is ever changing. So that could also be contributing to the lack of sex, in your relationship, in your marriage. Communication breakdowns, again, things that I talk about in a lot of different videos. I don't understand you. You don't understand me. And now I don't even care no more. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Right? And so then sex just goes out the window. That lingering resentment, that's a silent killer, y'all. So again, check out a previous video of mine about how like harboring resentment, how that can really, really impact your relationship, your marriage, and in not a positive way. So we have to get up under there and deal with that stuff that's just like it's lingering underneath the surface. It's like, like got to deal with it because it can affect your sex life. Okay. And a lot of times there can be issues of body shaming, aging, even in your marriage, or you could be doing it towards yourself, or your spouse could be doing it towards you. So when we don't feel good, like it's one thing to not feel good on the inside, but even when we don't feel good on the outside, sex can shut down. It's like, I don't like the way I look. I can't get comfortable. I can't get relaxed because of this, because of that. So those are like the biggest things that I definitely see when it comes to why people are not having sex in their marriages. Okay. And what happens when no one is talking about sex in your marriage? I'll tell you, the real damage of a sexless marriage isn't just physical, it is extremely emotional. Okay. It creates this growing silence where you stop reaching out for each other, you stop trying, and you just stop assuming. Everything just stops. It's just like comes to a halt, just like stonewall. Like I don't even care. Like, so we ain't have sex. So what? I got a little vibrator in my nightstand. Oh, I got some porn, that I could watch. I got my tried and true, ones that I like to clock in and see them so I can give myself all. I'm giving examples of how easily it is to just not invest time in rebuilding your physical intimacy. Um, and so we may question that when these things are happening in our marriages, we may say to ourselves, maybe my partner just doesn't want me, or maybe I don't look as good anymore to them. Also, if I bring it up, I know this is going to start a fight. It's going to be a whole snowball effect. I know our whole day is going to be ruined. So I just be better off just like not even broaching the subject. Does this stuff sound familiar? Like, for real. That's what we want to pay attention to. Like, the more you get comfortable with these excuses, the more your sex is going to suffer. Um, so because we just stop touching each other altogether, like not even like non-sexual touch begins to fade. And this is when the slow emotional drift, and this is when the slow emotional drift starts. Okay, so what to do instead of suffering in silence? Now, here's the good news, okay? Because I'm, you know, I hate, that's a really, really harsh word, but yeah, I'll use that. I hate when someone talks about something and it's all negative, all doom and gloom. And it's like, okay, but where's the solutions? Like, help me, because I already know what my problem is. I already know what's going on with us, and I know why we do it. But we got to get back on track, and I don't know how to do that. So help me, Angie, help me. So that's what I'm gonna do now. So make sure you're paying attention. Okay. So this is fixable. It is fixable, but it's not going to be with the whole like I'm gonna go to the store or go on Amazon and buy this lingerie, and we're gonna do this spontaneous date night and stuff like that. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we can incorporate that, but that's not going to be what gets you all back on track sooner rather than later. So it's going to start with these three things, and the first one is going to start with real conversations. I know this is the thing that a lot of times people are dreading and they don't want to confront, but it's just like when those bills are piling up and you know you got debt and you sitting up there and you just let the mail pile up. You're not trying to open it. You're not trying to open those emails with those bills that's due, but you know good and well you need to know. You need to put yourself on a schedule. You need to put yourself on like a little debt diet. Like all of that, same thing with this. You got to start with a real conversation. So first question that you all both should be asking each other is, do we want to have sex? I know, sounds so elementary, but I'm telling you, first you need to find out, do you even want it? Like, do you want sex? Do you want sex, period? Do you have a desire? Do you have a sexual desire at all? Even if it's not today. Have you been feeling, any kind of desire within the last day, a couple of days, weeks, months? I need to know where your head at. Okay. Answer that question first. Then the next one is, if you don't want to have sex, then why? Do you know why? Now this is when it started getting, a little hot in this conversation, because this is when you have to prepare yourself for what the response might be from your spouse. Okay, so if they're like, you know what, I really haven't been, feeling like I've been wanting to have sex. And then, your spouse is saying, hey, it's because, I don't feel like, we spend enough quality time together. I need time to kind of rev up and kind of get used to you again. Or, your spouse could be like, listen, um, I want to have sex, but every time I try to come at you, you always say you too busy or you tired or you frustrated. Like, so I'm done. Like I'm done begging you for sex. Let's get even more personal because I'm getting all up in your business, right? Say for instance, you ask your partner, your spouse, why we ain't having sex? Why don't you want to have sex? And your spouse say, you know what? Lately I haven't been really physically attracted to you. Whoa, whoa. I know but it got to happen. This question has to come up. And so instead of approaching a situation like, boom, why don't you want to have sex with me? Right? Then you can ask, what will allow you to feel closer to me? That's what allows that door to open. That allows for you all to bring your guards down and be a little bit more vulnerable. Because when you're coming out the gate, talking about what's wrong with you, why we ain't having sex, that's going to be kind of a turn off, what I'm saying, to your partners. And so you have to remember, I need to talk to my spouse in the way that they best receive information. How do they process things in a way where I know we're going to actually reach this goal, we're going to be successful in this conversation. I have to speak to them in their language, not mine. Um, the next thing is rebuilding touch. Rebuilding touch. We don't go from 0 to 100 when it comes to sex, y'all, especially after you've been in a relationship, you've been married for a while. It starts with the small things. And again, for those of you who have been following me on my journey as an intimacy coach, and you've subscribed to my channel, and you've caught me on social media in the past, you know that I highly, highly encourage the 60-second hug in your relationships and in your marriages. And if you want a little bit more info on that, just go through my videos. You'll see that 60-second hug. But again, rebuilding touch starts with safe, non sexual touch, such as cuddling, holding hands, forehead kisses, hugs. You all have to become familiar with each other again. There's a lot of couples walking around here and they're not familiar with each other. They live with each other, they raise kids together. They may even sleep in the same bed, but they're not familiar with each other. Okay, so we're going to turn all of that around. Start with those non sexual touches first and do that consistently for a while until you get a little bit more comfortable. And then when you get more comfortable and vulnerable, you can start asking for a little bit more, like, oh, I like the way this feels. Like, I could do this more often than not. And I like to add a little something extra to it. But again, you got to be careful because sometimes one partner may need a little bit more time before they get into this point of like having full-blown intercourse. So just, be considerate of that. And then you have to name what's changed. That's the third thing. Again, let's not address the elephant in the room. We have to. So let's talk about what has changed over the years. What has changed in our communication and our interactions? Because at one time, we was out here like jack rabbits, right? And then like all of a sudden it's quiet. So you have to say it out loud. You have to call a thing a thing. And so what that could look like is I miss our physical connection. And I don't want to keep pretending that it doesn't matter because it does. It matters to me and it matters to you. If there's shame, trauma, or stress behind this shutdown, then that's where therapy and coaching kind of comes into play. Okay, so again, that's something too you need to know about yourself and or your spouse. Is there some trauma there? Has there been a breach of trust? um has there been some shame, and just how you both were, raised, or like your backgrounds? Those things do need to be addressed as well and not swept under the rug. um so here's the thing. I want you all to take a look in the description, um in this video. I've included a worksheet, okay? And it's called How Do I Actually Want to Be Touched? What is it that I like? What is it that I desire? Because some of you, and this is not even, I'm not being funny, I'm not being rude. Some of y'all don't want to admit and you don't want to face the fact that you're just not physically pleasing your partners. And the reason why I'm looking like that, okay, is some of y'all think you're doing a pretty good job, okay? And some of you all are just not. You're just not. And that's again not being rude. Let's get in there and figure out what we need to do so that we can do it better. We can do it right. For the most part, it's a lot of women who are complaining about this, and they don't want to be as open and honest about um, not experiencing orgasms, and that you're just not pleasing them. And they're doing that because of maybe some previous reactions that they've received from you. So you need to be open. You need to really be like, hey, I want to knock your socks off. Like I want to send you into another freaking galaxy. But I need to know what you like. And when you tell me that, it's okay to tell me I don't like you blowing in my ear and stuff no more. I don't like you licking my toes and everything like that. Tell me so that I know not to do that again. And then tell me what you like, how you like it, when you like it, how often you like it, how fast, how slow, all of that, because you want to hit the mark. Okay, so these are real conversations you have to have. And so I definitely want you to fill out that, you know what I'm saying, that worksheet on how do I actually want to be touched. Okay, both of you. And then drop some comments, in the chat. I really want to hear you all's thoughts on this. Now, I know when it comes to intimacy and then like talking about like our partners, our spouses, like it's a touchy subject. So I definitely understand if you don't always want to, you know, say specifically, what you're going through or ask specific questions about what you're going through. But I'm fine with asking for a friend. I'm fine with that. You can put that in there. Asking for a friend, Angie, what you think about this? So again, don't hesitate, to reach out, to leave your comments. And if you haven't had sex in 6 months, no shame. But maybe don't wait another 6 months to talk about it. Okay? Alrighty. It was great connecting with you all today. And I look forward to reading some of your comments about this whole sexless marriage thing, y'all, because it's time to change that. Alrighty. Love you all.